The Components window allows you to access everything having to do with components. You can expand it to see more of them. You can access the components that you make, or components that are already in your SketchUp file. You can also access components that are on your hard drive, or on your file server, or even in the 3D warehouse. Right here, you can look at this information in different ways: small thumbnails, large thumbnails, list view, and my favorite, details. This icon represents the components that are in the model. This arrow gives you a whole list of different places. The second item here are components which are in a specific folder on your hard drive. And it used to be in previous versions of SketchUp that there were bonus packs of components you could download from Google. And what I've done is I've transferred these components from the old version to the new one. Let me just show you how I did that. I placed these folders that are themselves filled with other folders and eventually with SketchUp files into this particular folder called Components, and its path is listed right here on the Mac. On the PC, it would be under C Program Files, Google SketchUp 7 Components. Basically, anything you see in here is accessible from within SketchUp right here. You can go into Architecture, Appliances, and then I can put a Blender in just like that. So back to this menu. Your menu will likely be different depending on how many subfolders you place into the Components folder. Notice down here that it goes down to T and then it starts over at A. This is because these items are actually searches that go out onto the internet and query Google's 3D warehouse. You can type in a search up here in this field, and you can search for a specific object, building, or collection. So now we're in an architectural collection. I'll double-click on Retail, and that will search again for retail items. Eventually, we'll drill down to a point where we can insert an actual component into our scene. So let's say we want this cash register in the scene. If you click on the icon, you will actually download that object, and you can place it in your scene. If you click on the words, you'll open a browser window, which will give you more information about that particular object. This browser provides an alternative method for navigation. You can click on the arrows to look at different objects here, in different collections. You can go to related items that were made by the same maker. This particular item was made by Google. And it will suggest other items you might like based on your selection. If you're trying to insert a component that itself contains scenes, this is the primary method to do it. You want to click on Download Model, and you'll be prompted either to load it directly into your model or not. If you say no, you have an opportunity to save it as a SketchUp file on your hard drive. And this is the way you want to go if the component you're downloading contains scenes. Otherwise, the scenes will be ignored if it's inserted directly into your existing file. It doesn't matter whether you add components that are on your local hard drive, on your file server, or on the internet. Any way you go, they're added to your model. If you delete the component from View, it doesn't get rid of it in the file. And so if you experiment with a lot of components, pretty soon your file size starts to grow. It's a good idea to go to the In-Model list by clicking on the house icon and periodically purging unused components. You can do that from this menu right here, Purge Unused. Here, I'm going to get rid of the cash register and the blender, and you can see the component is still there in the list, and the blender is down here somewhere. If I purge unused, those will disappear, and my model will be a little bit smaller and more efficient. You can also right-click on a component and get a special menu. Here I can select all the instances of that component in the scene. I could save it out as a file on the hard drive as a SketchUp file, or I could go to the Properties, which is actually the Edit button up here, where I can change the gluing plane, whether it's a Face Me component, and so on. Here you can reload the component by clicking here, and you can replace it with a different component if you want. In the course of a project, if you end up creating a number of useful components that you want to reuse in the future, you can save the entire in-model list to disk by clicking here and choosing Create a New Collection. Likewise, you can open a folder of SketchUp files and load them into your Components window, by choosing this item. Another powerful feature of the Components window is the ability to drag and drop components between folders without having to leave SketchUp. The key to that is this button right here. It displays the secondary selection pane. It's like having two component browsers in one. So up here I have my in-model list. I'll just scroll down and locate this new component which we just designed. Down here, I'm in my People folder. I'll just drag the woman in there. That actually copies the SketchUp file into this folder, so everybody in the firm now has access to this new component that I've made.